Good morning, everybody. This is Ray at Manson Reamers, and I am going to show you how to use the grizzly rod, or gritter's rod as it's sometimes called. Often there's a lot of confusion with folks. They buy the gritter's rod thinking it's a range rod. It operates completely different. Both are great tools, and it's good to probably have both in your quiver. As you can see, it's set up. I've got one end of it mounted solidly in my Jacob's chuck. The pilot, let me back this out a little bit and I'll show you how I've got that in there. So you can see the pilot right there. It's just inside the bore. And essentially what's going to happen is whatever runout is in my bore, the rod is going to flex and follow it. So as I spin the chuck, whatever runout it is there, the rod will just flex with the bore. So it's a hardened rod, but it's long enough to flex. All right, so let me get this back on there. We'll run this in a little farther. So what I use the grizzly rod primarily for is to get roughly or close enough to pre-bore. And generally when I pre-bore, I'm just going to run a drill in somewhat over neck diameter, probably somewhere between neck and shoulder diameter of whatever chamber I'm doing. And once I've got it pre-bored, I'm going to switch over to an indicator like this, and I'll reach in and indicate off the throat area. Finally, to a real fine detail. And then I'll go in with a small boring bar and true up my pre-bored section so it's running perfectly true to the bore. So here you can see we've got about 3 thou of runout, maybe a little bit more just inside right here. Now, one of the big strengths of the grizzly rod is we can now go in another couple inches. I didn't count that off, so I don't know how far, but anyway, we can go in, we can now set our pilot in here and see what's going on. And see there, what it's showing us. Now keep in mind that now we're not indicating real close. Back here we were kind of indicating right here, the pilot's here. We moved the rod in. The rod is flexing, of course, up here, but it's not showing us the true full measure. So that you might think of that as a weakness, but it's not really the total amount of runout that we're worried about. It's that we're trying to dial it in so there's no runout. We just need to know how much on either side of zero we are, and we keep tweaking it in. So as I'm doing this, ideally, normally I'd probably have a little shorter barrel stub on there. This morning I've got 2 6mm chambers to do. I'm just going to do one, partial one, part it off, and do the other one. So once I get this dialed in, I don't have to take it out of my chuck and go through this whole process again. Most of you, of course, are not going to be doing that. You'll have about this much barrel sticking out of your chuck. You can bring this rod in and get it right under these set of adjustment screws here. Let me rotate so you can see what I'm pointing at. Get your pilot right up underneath these adjustment screws. And from there, that's where you've got your truest reading of what's going on. Again, not in terms of total runout, but in terms of what's going on. And so as you make adjustments on this first set of screws, you can get it dialed in exactly there. what I would do, my setup's a little different than yours. Again, I'm just running test chambers and stuff. You most likely have an outboard spider, many of you anyway. Once I get it dialed in under my set of screws here, I'm going to actually back it out and check my run out here. So I got it running true here. Here it's going to show me the opposite of what's going on farther down. So think of it, I got it running true here, it's pivoting right there as it's going around. And so when I back out, it's showing the opposite. All I have to do on my outboard spider is, when I'm like this, well actually when I'm like this, when it's high back here, I'm going to loosen the top and roll it over and then tighten the bottom and bring that in so it's running true. Hopefully that's clear. After you do it, it's a little more intuitive. But that's the nuts and bolts of using the Grizzly Rod. So hopefully you guys, when you get it, you'll be able to get up and running with it pretty quickly. The one downside, the one thing to watch out for, if you've got too much run out, this rod is, depending on what pilot bushing you're using, what bore diameter you are, this rod may only give you 5 thou clearance to the bore. And if you got more than 5 thou run out, what's happening is the pilot's bending this way, but the bore back here is pushing down this way. You'll recognize that happening when you make a adjustment and your indicator does the opposite of what you think it should be doing. So that's the one thing to watch out for. Usually, what you're going to do, as I described, you're going to start in the back, and you'll sort of work your way forward and slowly work this out until you get that pilot bushing up underneath your adjustment screws. And then by that time, you've got enough clearance that the bore is never going to touch this rod along its length. It's only going to be bearing against the pilot bushing. So with that, I'm gonna end this and get back to work.